This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to the Ultimate Pool Masters. Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb back with you for more Monday Night Pool. And tonight, Simon, the action continues. We've seen two fantastic weeks so far, and the lineup doesn't disappoint tonight, does it?
It really doesn't. Every week it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and we've got another fantastic lineup tonight. And
for those who have been watching the show over the last sort of 10 weeks or so, you will notice a couple of changes around here, namely up top. Big shout out to Craig at Court Barbers in Nottingham, so I'm now on a par with Simon, at least in terms of the hair front, but we're back on top now. You can all stop DMing me on Twitter, it's fine, we're all good. Okay, if you're new to the show, this is what you need to know. Ultimate Pool Masters, the format, the rules, everything. Here it is.
The Ultimate Pool Masters brings together the best players around and puts them to the ultimate test. 64 players start with 16 groups of 4. Each night, 4 players will be featured with 2 semi-finals and a final, with 1 player advancing through the group into the next stage. Once we're through to the last 16, we'll have 4 more 4-to-1 format nights, leaving us ultimately with our final 4. Then, on finals night, we have 2 semi-finals and our grand final to crown the winner. The matches themselves are set to a 50-minute match clock. It's a race to 8 frames or 0 on the clock, whichever comes first. A 45-second shot clock is in operation, with the final 10 minutes introducing a 15-second shot clock, where only the quick thinking will survive. If a match is tied as the clock runs out, a 6-red shootout will decide the winner. We're playing international 8-ball rules, so a foul introduces cue ball in hand for your opponent, but the basic premise remains the same. Pick a colour set, pot your balls, then pot the 8-ball. There's £20,000 in the prize pot, and at the end of it all, the winner will pocket 10 grand, a worthy prize for a marathon event. Welcome to the Ultimate Pool Masters.
So that's the show. We've really enjoyed the opening 2 weeks. The fella you just saw there and you shot, Chris Melling, he booked his place through to the last 16 last week. We'll see him versus Jordan Shepherd in due course as the draw just starts to build a little bit, Simon. And speaking of the draw, we have announced our wild card on social media in the last few days or so. If you didn't see this one, before we do the big reveal on the telly, as it were, Si, this is something we teased last week. How excited are we to see our wild card next week on Free Sports?
Oh, I can't wait. I really can't. Yeah, it's been great fun. Actually, it's been great fun to see the reaction on social media, all the guesses, and not very many people got it right.
So, if you're not quite in the know, prepare to be a little bit surprised. This is who's competing on your screens in the Ultimate Pool Masters next week. We've only gone and got the power. Come on! Si, I'm so excited. We know he's from Stoke-on-Trent. He's from these parts, very familiar with Lee Kendall from local links and stuff like that. But we know he loves this pool. How good he is, whether he's good enough to beat Rob Chilton is another thing. But what a scoop! So excited for this one.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant to see a legend from another sport come along, see what they can do in our great sport. It's going to be fascinating, and I think there's going to be a lot of people tuning in to find out how he gets on against Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope you'll be one of them, of course. All right, that's next week. We don't have to worry about Phil the Power Taylor for another 7 days, and then we'll be all about it. But it's time to focus on week 3. As we mentioned at the top of the show, another fantastic lineup for you, and we've got a great first match as well, as Phil Harrison takes on Greg Batten. It is not a stretch to say Phil Harrison, one of the greatest ever.
Greg's a great player. The way he thinks about the game, the way he goes about the game,
Well, he already had a magician last week. Greg Batten has been pulling out all the tricks this week as well. He's keeping us well entertained in the pre-show. Not everyone's just a pool player, are they? Goodness me, we were sat there amazed, Simon, but now it's all about, we're about to see what he can do with cue in hand as opposed to cards.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun earlier to see some of the tricks that Greg can do. He is a magician. But he's also pretty special on the table as well, although he won't be happy with that start with a dry break to get us underway.
Yeah, this will bring Phil Harrison to the table. And you heard there in the preamble, we'll repeat it again for those at the back. It is not a stretch to say that Phil Harrison is one of the greats of all time. We say this a few times whenever we see Phil on our screens, whenever we're blessed to be seeing him. Sort of the player's player, isn't he? He's such a brilliant player of the game, and he's quite often your favourite pools player.
Red balls in
your
play.
favourite pool player's favourite pool player.
Yeah, Greg's one of those players, he may not, you know, he's going to be the outsider for this match and one of the outsiders for the group, but actually those that know, those that understand and have seen the pool world over the last few years know how good Greg Batten is, and it absolutely more than capable of beating Phil and winning through tonight from this incredibly tough group. He is a fantastic player, and he's gone deep in many, many tournaments, won some big tournaments. So Phil Harrison is going to be very much up against it. But a good first opportunity here for Phil Harrison. We talk about how good a player he is, how great a player he is. It's layouts like Lee's. He just seems to work out the pattern so well.
Yeah, we've seen him obviously in the Champions League in our last competition here on Free Sports. Got to the quarterfinals in that one before being ousted by Aaron Davies and Neil Raybone that night. No shame in that, of course, but we saw a few times in that competition it was such a tight shot clock, such a fast, frenetic pace, that he was caught a few times. This much more suiting his game. He's a player who does like to take his time, be that bit more methodical, and you're thinking you put 20 seconds extra on Phil Harrison's shot clock and you should see even less mistakes, and there weren't many originally.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's the one thing that we could say from his performances we've seen on Free Sports over the last 6 months or so in the Champions League, and he was in a shootout showdown as well. The shot clock caught him out on a few occasions, but 45 seconds, especially at the beginning of this match, is much more what he'll be comfortable with.
Yeah, we were privy to his recording of his speed pool challenge a little bit earlier, which was absolutely amazing to watch, and just an inclination to me that he absolutely can play at breakneck speed if he needs to. So don't expect the 15-second shot clock to all of a sudden be the end of the road for Phil Harrison. Such a good player, he can play to any clock, I think. But he's worked this pattern out beautifully, not an inch out of line, and this is about to be 1-0 very, very quickly. Greg Batten is second favourite tonight, as Simon mentioned, but a really talented player in his own right. It's a tough draw this for both players, but Phil Harrison is off to the perfect start. 1-0
Frame.
to the farmer.
Very impressive. That's what Phil Harrison does. Dry break, perfect the whole way through it. And, I think Greg would have known when he sat down after a shot or two that he wasn't going to get back to the table in that frame.
Well, there he is, Phil the Farmer Harrison, 46-year-old from Sutton. He is a world champion. 2009 he won that title. He's also a 3-time world master, as well as winning 2 Supreme Series in this venue and in this rule set as well, against all manner of comers from all over the world. A super player, a lovely bloke, and still very much at the peak of his powers.
Second frame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phil Harrison to break, leading 1 frame to 0.
He is one of the players that he's always one of the big favourites for every tournament he plays in.
Yeah, that world title win was all the way back in 2009, but it's not as if he's some relic of the past. He's been at the top of the game the entire time since. And that's come out beautifully, hasn't it? These reds look a little bit tasty.
Yeah, some break this. Look, he really gets extra power into this one. He's probably more so than we've seen him in the Champions League. He's really after this one. Almost a bit of change of technique. I don't remember him standing up on the break like that in that sort of fashion.
Really thrown the arm through that, hasn't he?
Yeah, maybe a slight change of technique, trying to reach for a little bit more power, and it certainly worked on this occasion. These reds are laid out nicely. The one that's nearest the right centre pocket doesn't have an obvious pocket. See from this camera angle, it goes in the opposite middle pocket. And that's about it. It may go into the bottom right corner once the other red's out the way, past the 8 ball, but that's not an easy place to land on it. So that's going to be the ball he's trying to figure out right now.
He's got options, Phil. Use this red at the top of the table to drift down to the bottom. I'm just thinking, so I might be able to use the red to the bottom right to work back up to the one across the table.
Yeah, that could be a really good option for him. Just needs to leave himself the right angle to be able to land in the area of the table where that red will go. A little bit thinner on that red. It looks like he's held it perfectly, actually. He has the angle that you talked about. The only thing, if he tries to get there now, it means he'll be getting onto the 8 ball from the red to the bottom left, which isn't ideal. It's doable, but not ideal. So he's leaving the one in the middle of the table. I mean, unless we've been fooled and this actually goes into the right centre pocket, I'm very surprised. But the fact that he's come round, well, he looks like he's going to have to come across the table.
This needs to be judged impeccably. Impeccable.
Very impressive. Backed himself to make that positional shot ahead of trying to make the positional shot from the ball he's just played onto the 8 ball, and you can't argue against that, the position he's landed in.
The thing that makes that shot extra good, because I think if that happens towards the end of this match, you're almost expecting it to happen. But what we've seen so far in these matches in the first 2 weeks of this competition is players have been a little bit caught out by the table in the early going of matches. It's super responsive, super quick. To be able to judge that as perfectly as he did, outstanding from Phil Harris. And this is the man we were talking about earlier, Greg Batten. Not got the same manner of accolades, but in terms of talent, Simon's player you know really well and player you really rate.
Yeah, no doubt, and you know he's won some big titles. That player's amateur title was a massive title, and actually the Scottish Open title, which he was a runner-up in, was one of the best finals I've ever commentated on. It was he lost 7-6 to John McAllister, the current world champion, and it was a match where the first 12 frames all went with the break. They were all 12 dishes from the break. With the decider, Greg missed an 8 ball for the 7th clearance, and John counter-cleared, and that was the only mistake in the match. It was incredible.
Makes a ball on this occasion, makes a couple for good measure, does Greg Batten, and the first time we'll see him in open table, he's got a 2-0 deficit to try and turn around. Talk about that Southwest tour again. We've touched on it a couple of times already in the first couple of weeks. You chastised me last time for saying he's the same neck of the woods as you, but all the same, that Southwest region to me.
It's a decent sized region, but yeah, no, there's some good players playing the Southwest Tour that Greg's won many titles at. Always important, I think, when your opponent gets off to such a start like Phil has, that you remind him that you're there, your first opportunity at the table. I think
balls in play.
it's one of the things the top players do so well, is that they know that these guys are going to clear from the break and take their chances, so they're happy, or not happy, but they're capable of sitting there, taking those 2 frames off the break. There's nothing Greg could have done to affect those first 2 frames. He just has to focus on his next chance, and who knows, if he takes this chance, all of a sudden Phil could break dry and he could return the favour and do 2 on the trot. So that's what he has to be thinking here. Yellow at the top of the table only goes to the top left, but he has an angle where he can land on that yellow in a couple of shots' time. gone up for it now. He's a little bit short, but it's not a problem. He can still drop this in with control. Maybe that this is Greg's first match on this table. We've talked about this a lot, that this is a very responsive table, and that's one where he's probably just got into it a shade more than he planned to. I think he'd like to have been a little bit more on the break line rather than where he is now.
Yeah, he's been in the venue for a long time at this point, Greg Batten. He rocked at about 2 o'clock. Long trip up from the southwest, so he took the opportunity to stay the night before, and he's been hitting the practice table hard, we can say that. He's utilised every last second of his allotted table time on the match table as well to try and get used to it. Hasn't played a huge amount of pool in the last year or so.
No, he said that he's barely touched his cue for quite a long time during the lockdowns and everything else, but last few weeks he's been able to put some table time in. He does have practice, a table at home, so he's able to practice at home. Left himself a shade straighter on this than's perfect, but I think there's enough angle to get to where he needs to. Yeah, able to force that one in, and all about pace control, and pace control is perfect. Yeah,
these two haven't put a toe out of line just yet, have they? Been pitch perfect so far from Phil Harrison, and now Greg Batten. And this is going to be 2-1 before you know it. Always figured this would be a real close one. As you rightly mentioned, Phil Harrison, big favourite of any draw that he enters, but it was never going to be an easy tie, this one. The lineup is so deep in this Masters tournament. It's very rare that you look at a night without a great player, or you look at a match and you think, oh, that should be quite an easy one to call. This is another one that it's probably not quite a coin toss. You'd have a favourite, but you're absolutely not surprised if Greg wins this at all. Yeah, completely agree. Every week, every group, we can see some of it here on the draw. It's just there are great players all the way through this competition. There is no easy matches. So some might be saying Rob Chilton's got himself one next week, but we'll wait and see. The unknown quantity. Yeah, time will tell. There's pressure on Rob next week, no doubt. Yeah, there'll be a few eyes on that one for the European champion, I think he was, Rob Chilton. Yeah. Great player in his own right. And you see that break from Phil Harrison again. He's certainly getting some power through the pack. He's been unlucky there. It's a great break. Absolutely, unquestionably a great break, but no ball down. He'll turn the table over to Greg here. Chance to tie things up at 2 apiece. Just wonder on this replay if he gets the quality as much. Yeah, you know, he does. It's probably not quite as full on as the first one, but he certainly hit that well enough and doesn't quite get the same power going through the pack. Almost like a bad contact. When you're playing with the break shot with power, the cue ball is actually jumping down the table a little bit. You're striking down on it, and you can just get that bad connection every now and then. And I really feel like that could be one that has happened to Phil here. We'll take a look at Greg's break the next time he has his. See the slow-mo, you just see the difference between the two. Both quite effective, but very, very different. You can see Greg almost snaps his cue in half when he pulls his through the shot. He's taking his extension early days here to work out this pattern. Little development shot, and that's a good one. He is very much in the mix on these yellows here. Not quite got as much freedom as he'd like with the bottom right of the table. That red's a problem, but there's ways around it. Yeah, it's tricky though, because you're looking for a ball to try and land. So those yellows do go into centre pockets, or once one's gone, the other one might go into the bottom left corner pocket. But actually, to get to that area of the table, there isn't a great ball, I don't think. The reds or the 8 ball kind of block the path on a couple of different ways. I don't think he can. Well, maybe if he leaves the one in the centre pocket, he might just be able to drift past the 8 ball, but that's going to be tight. And he's actually a little bit thin on this yellow at the top of the table to be able to drop on the one in the centre as well. So yeah, he's very thin on this. Yeah, he's got work to do here. And he's one really key positional shot just to open this up. Not got enough of it. Well, where the cue ball's finished, actually, I mean, he did have the yellow at the bottom of the table. It's not the worst result for it to stay up. He may well have ended up chasing and finished there. Obviously, he wanted it to go in, but at least he's
block to pocket off. Phil's thinking aggressively, so he has a plan to place some sort of skill shot on that yellow at the top of the table.
He could even look to play it now and play safe almost. The only yellow that obviously goes is the one to the bottom left here.
I wonder if he hits this red into the sort of gap in red and yellow, he might make both. Well, he's played your shot. He's played the safety shot, and he's got it really well. Block the yellow to the bottom left, or top left, as we look from our overhead. Doesn't matter if he can see yellows past the 8 ball, because he can't do anything with them. So excellent choice of shot from Phil.
Yeah, Greg now in a little bit of trouble in this frame, and he knows it.
Yeah, difficult. Can't do anything aggressive, I don't think. Maybe try and get some of these yellows to cause a problem at the bottom end of the table. Try and get a yellow in front of one of those reds. Try and stop Phil clearing up at his next visit. We could pop that to the bottom left.
Wowee. I did
Great
not
pop.
think that was on. I did not think that was on. Yeah, look at that.
Fantastic pot. Hasn't landed perfectly though. Needed a little decent nudge with the path he was taking with the cue ball, but I think he can still pot this to the centre pocket.
It's not a bad outcome this at all.
Yeah, it's 2 great shots.
Really thought he was in trouble there, Greg, especially with the amount of time he took at the table before he played that shot. He thought he'd been figuring out his safety angles, not lining up that one. Had us fooled, but knew exactly what he was doing.
That was a difficult positional shot, it really was. It was so thin on that yellow, had to come across the table a couple of times just to try and get the cue ball in the middle of the table to be able to pot the yellow, and it's gone wrong. He may just be able to see the edge of the yellow directly, but that's no good. Cue ball may even be going in off, so looking at some sort of couple of cushion, trying to pop the yellow in the centre, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's got to be 2 or 3 cushions here, hasn't it? It's the only way he's going to win the frame at this point.
Yeah, the 2 cushions looks like it's being blocked by the red, so maybe the 1 cushion's the way. Problem if he makes this, the cue ball's going away from the 8 ball.
It's a good hit. Don't think he's got away with it from Phil Harrison point of view. Phil should be in and amongst these. Just got slightly the wrong side of the yellow, Greg Batten. He'd have been close to potting it if he was anywhere a little bit further over. And he would have been on the 8 ball. But a couple of thin pots have really been his demise in this frame.
And that's where the frustration can build, is the fact that he's had 2 opportunities in this frame. Okay, that second opportunity, which we weren't even sure was on, was tough. It was really tough. And he put a good effort in to try and make it, but you know, he's had 2 efforts in a frame against Phil Harrison and hasn't taken them, and could find himself 3-1 behind. No problems to work out here at all. We've seen quite a bit of Phil over the last few months here on Free Sports, and we already talked about the fact that he hasn't been comfortable with that short shot clock, but I felt like every time he turned up he was getting more and more comfortable with it, and I think once we get to that portion of this match, I think we're going to see him at another comfort level with it. It may not be still absolutely perfect, but he's a great player and he learns all the time.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's fully comfortable with 15 seconds. I think there's probably 2 or 3 players in the world who are comfortable at that pace. They're already in our last 16.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
It's for 3-1. Phil Harrison
Frame.
restores his 2-frame cushion. Tough one to take that for Greg Batten. Well, we saw our first quarter of the draw. This is the second. This is what we can expect to see rather in 5, 6, 7 and 8. And we've talked about this throughout the show. This is the section of the draw where every single one of those players will fancy their chances to make the semi-final. That last spot in the draw, that's the semi-final up against the semi-finalists from quarter one, and any player there will back themselves strongly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, we're not being disrespectful, but everybody in that draw will look at that draw and think they've avoided the massive names. Don't get me wrong, there are some great players in that section of the draw. There really are. But it's just the way you can see a draw sometimes. Mind you, even looking at that draw, there's still some incredibly difficult matches to call.
Oh, impossible for us.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is it really isn't a slant on any of the players there. They will look at... Every player thinks they can win their match. But in that section of the draw, I just think players will start to road map through and think, I've got a real serious chance here of making a semi-final of a big event. Big prize pot too in this event. 10 grand to the winner. And 10 grand elsewhere in other prize monies as well. So plenty on the line. It's a lovely shot that from Greg Batten. Another thin shot for him. Yellow's the call then.
Key shot here, needs to open up these 2 yellows at the bottom. And that's not perfect for him. He's not landed on anything. Too close to the one he's right on top of to be able to pot it. I think may be able to clip it back. Difficult to pot the one at the top of the table, and everything's a bit congested still. If he can clip this one back, and it's looks very tough, then he might be able to screw into the little cluster again.
It's a great effort. He's really unlucky. He's really unlucky. Hanging over that bottom left pocket.
It's another one very similar to the last chance that he had the opening chance he had in the previous frame. It's one of those that there are times when you look at the table and you can just see the problems, and even if that had dropped in, I'm still seeing there, being quite a few problems for him. So, okay, he doesn't want to end up in a tactical battle because he lost that in the previous frame, but the fact that he has missed that one, at least it stayed over the pocket, and it's going to cause Phil Harrison some problems, because this is no gimme clearance for Phil at all. First missed pot of the night for Phil. Not sure what the plan would have been in terms of trying to go for the finish, but it wasn't unless he played a safety shot to leave the cue ball where it is, but it looks fairly open. But I suppose he has blocked off that plant to the bottom of the table.
Oh, that's come out pretty nice, I think. A little bit of work still to do, but Greg has a chance here. It's a canny little swerve shot, that.
Not sure he's been left on anything. Very thin cut on the yellow to the bottom left, probably too thin actually when you look at it. Possibly a double. You look from the overhead, that looks too thin.
Yeah, that's a double. I'm wondering if the yellow he's closest to might snick through to the middle pocket, but it's really tough to tell off this angle.
Yeah, don't think it is, going by his body language.
Double it is. Not there. Phil Harrison gets a reprieve. Greg just struggling a little bit at the moment. He's struggling off difficult chances, and it's important not to get too demoralised.
Yeah,
when the real chance has been there, he's looked excellent, but he's really chasing like tough, top tier finishes here.
For me, that's 3 finishes on the trot that he's not cleared up, but I completely agree. They were 3 really tough finishes.
Can see there Phil Harrison just urging that cue ball to slow down.
Yeah, he had one bad ball on the table and he's attacked it straight away and landed on it. I think the 8-ball passes to the bottom right corner, so I don't think the 8-ball will be a problem for him. It may not have the full pocket.
Be a great start if Phil Harrison go 4-1 up. And a race to 8, 3 frames is a big lead.
I'm not happy with the shot he played, but he looks to be fine. I guess the thing he's annoyed with is he's on an angle on the red into the centre pocket that he can't go up the table. As we have a quick look to see that 8-ball does go. No problems with that. I think he wanted an angle on this one in the centre that he could drift up the table, and he hasn't got it. He would have wanted to play the 2 at the top as a plant. He doesn't want to play the one over the pocket to play on the one just inside it, but he has got an angle to land nicely on that. Okay, interesting. Looks like he's going to play into the red, the way he's queued that one up. So this could go wrong.
Yeah, this has got to be judged really well. No margin for error here. Oh, that's perfect. Even left himself a little bit of angle too. It's a really, really good shot. Looks in fine fettle, the farmer. He really does. Barely missed a beat in this match so far. As I mentioned, 3-frame lead at this juncture is a great lead to have. 4-1.
Frame.
Really impressive stuff from Phil. Gets himself slightly into an awkward position, but controls this cannon beautifully.
That's the word, isn't it? It's control.
Yeah.
Every inch of that was as played.
And that's the thing, you're not going to be perfect the whole way through it, and when you do land slightly off angle, there's no point getting too annoyed. He did show frustration with his eyes just a fraction, but then it's back to work and, right, okay, what can I do from here? And with Phil Harrison, more often than not, he clears up. Greg being 4-1 down against Phil, the way that Phil's playing, he's going to need some good chances here to get back into this match.
Phil Harrison to break.
Yeah, already it looks like a long way back, doesn't it?
It does. Greg is capable, but he needs Phil to help him out here.
Well, I don't think that help is forthcoming off this break, at least. Crumbs.
Yeah, that was as impressive as his first break.
It is definitely a change in style, though. 100%.
Yeah, I've not noticed Phil doing that in the previous shows here on Free Sports. It's not the greatest split, though, actually, even though we talk about the power through the pack. When you actually look at the layouts he's got, it's not ideal. 2 yellows at the bottom of the table, unless they're a plant, and I'm pretty sure they're not. The yellows are pretty horrible. Reds are his choice. Reds aren't great at the top of the table.
Red ball's in play.
Okay, that helps him. Just nudging that yellow an inch or two means the red in the middle of those 3 at the top now goes to both top pockets. Well, it'll go to the top right once the other red's out of the way. It may go past it as it is now, so he's opened it up a little bit.
Out comes the rest. A rare showcase on the 7x4 table. Oh, has he got enough of it? No. Oh, now then. Oh, that's a surprise. It's just slowed up, hasn't it? You can tell by his facial expression there. I don't think that was a safety or anything like that. It's a rare slip from Phil. Greg just chooses to get that ball out the way. Again, not a foul. You can put your opponent's ball as long as you play your own first. So that just puts Phil in a pretty almighty quandary here, because he's got 2 balls at the top of the table which are almost entirely out of commission. One ball isolated on its own down south. And he's only got 3 versus the 6 of Greg's. The safety battle is weighted almightily in Greg's favour.
I think he's got an aggressive shot here. If he pots this and avoids the yellows. Oh, he had a line. Oh, here's your chance, Greg Batten. This is exactly what you need. But he's still got problems. The 2 yellows at the bottom of the table, they're still not nice for Greg.
See, they're queuing down on it out of the pocket. See the roll of the white ball. That's a lovely little shot. Slap of the knee from Phil tells you that as well. It's as good a compliment as you're ever going to get. That a tap of the Phil Harrison knee.
Yeah, and once again attacking his bad ball as early as possible. It's what you're going to see all these great players doing. May well be looking to leave the yellow into the centre pocket as his last ball. If he lands straight on it, you just drop it in and you're on the 8 ball to the corner. The risk is if you do leave it for your last ball and you land just off straight the wrong way, then you could get blocked out by that red and leave it awkward. So he has to be precise with his last positional shot onto that yellow.
Well, felt like it was a frame that Greg had to win, and win it. He has 1 shot to do it. That's a money 8 ball down the right rail from Greg Batten. And he's back in the mix. He's got half a sniff in this match. Phil Harrison was rumbling along, and if he took that chance to go 5-1 in front, it would have been a very long way back. We're going to take a quick break. Do stay with us. This match concludes when we return.
Extension called. Red ball's in play.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to live action here at the Ultimate Pool Masters. It's still Phil Harrison 4, Greg Batten 2 in this round 1 match. Phil's at the table. Well, Greg has had the frame's first chance.
The reason Phil's looking a little bit frustrated is he's not on the yellow in such a way that he can nudge the other yellow into a good position, or he's worried about it. I thought he was straighter than he is. He actually does have the angle he needs to get into this yellow. It's just how do you nudge it towards a pocket? So just like that. Excellent shot.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I love it when they just answer your question.
There's a few people that will tell you that when Phil's standing there grimacing, looking a little bit frustrated, then he's normally perfect.
It's a weird mannerism, isn't it?
It's just a weird mannerism that he has, yeah.
When he actually smiles, he tends to be quite annoyed. Because he's slightly out of position or he's annoyed at himself, so he'll...
Yeah. Yeah, he smiled when he missed that pot with a rest and it stayed on the table. So maybe there is something in that. But I thought he was straight on the yellow to the centre pocket and he actually had the angle he needed, which he played excellently.
That 3-frame lead about to be restored. As you mentioned, Greg did have first visit in this frame to bring him back within 1. We'll show you what happened in that one in just a moment. Phil on course. And he makes it 5-2.
Frame.
Well, let's take a look at the moment that Greg Batten almost got his way through. What a shot that would have been to the middle pocket. He initially played what was almost a very, very good shot that was before where the cue ball was on that red. It used to be a yellow. Played the developing shot, took the yellow out, but found himself glued to his own object ball, which was the red. Really unlucky, but if he'd have got himself out of that, what a shot it would have been.
Yeah, nearly pulled that shot at the tournament, but he was, it has to be said, unlucky with the way he landed to not be on that ball or not have opened it up better than he did. So a little bit unfortunate for Greg, but Phil did what he had to do, and that's step in and punish it. And 3 frames up now, not long left to go.
We talked earlier about the Phil Harrison break. Watch the way he breaks here. Slow and steady. And up on the shot, drives through. Bad example here because he's gone screwed straight into the top left of the table, but this is how much it's changed, Simon. This is a clip from the Champions League, the last tournament, from the quarter-final. Straight down the middle, low down on the shot. It's a big difference, that, isn't it?
Yeah, so the replay we've just shown you there, that shows you that's more conventional, that's staying in his normal technique, where he's gone to he's raising himself up
Red ball's in play.
And trying to free himself up to be able to hit with more power. The problem he has with that is the fact that he's just lacked a little bit of control, although he has generated more power. You can see the amount of power.
He's almost throwing, almost like an uppercut, isn't he? The motion through.
Yeah, and it really does generate more speed into the ball, but then if you misstrike the cue ball just a fraction, which you can do more when you're hitting with more power and more pace, then it can go wrong like it did in this break here. Although we have to say 2 of his 4 breaks were
15-second shot clock.
Excellent power through the pack, and he made balls and gave himself great chances from. So definitely something that Phil's been working on.
So you heard there, referee Scott called out 15-second shot clock in operation. Shouldn't matter too much to Greg Batten on this clearance. The ball's all there for him. He's kept pace here, but he just hasn't quite returned to parity. That early lead that Phil Harrison took has remained, and Greg Batten once again goes back within 2. This could well be the swing frame. This is the one that you feel if Phil Harrison wins it, almost nailed on to win the match. If Greg Batten wins it, we are right in and amongst it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you get 3 frames in front again at this stage, it's very hard to be caught. We have seen it. We've seen turnarounds like that in some of the the shootout series and shootout events we've had, but it's unlikely.
Frame number 9. Greg Batten to break. Trailing 5 frames to 3.
He's still thinking about that break, is Phil.
Change of break from Greg this time. Move to the cut break, and well, that's worked out well for him.
Yeah, I should say.
He'll be happy with this. Good chance here.
This match isn't over yet. 9 minutes to go on a 15-second shot clock. Room for plenty of frames within that. And Greg Batten here with the chance to go back within 1.
Red ball's in play.
Delicate little opener, and what we will see with the 15-second shot clock is if you do go wrong, there's precious little time to scope out the options. You really have to play quick.
Just looking at Greg's break, we often talk about the player changing their break because they're struggling to make a ball off the break, and that hasn't been the case tonight for Greg. He has been making a ball, but the problem he's had is developing a table that's a good table to go at. He's had difficult finishes off his own break, so I think that's why he's changed. And look at the layout he left this time.
Well, it's always a test to see how players cope with the 15-second shot clock. Just had the mechanism in the table just working overtime. This has been rapid from Greg Batten. Tricky black though.
Just a little bit shy. This is thin to the top left corner.
This is a tough 8-ball. Big one to make. Makes it. Oh, just.
Right.
That one wiped its feet and then some. Oh, a nervy moment this.
Wow, that's incredible that's gone in. I think he thought he'd missed it the way he was, but fortunately played it at a pace where it still was able to accept it into the pocket. And what a great response to going 5-2 behind. 2 very quick frames, reverse dish, break dish, and as you said, game on.
And this is the 3rd quarter of the draw. Fantastic draw as well, like Simon Fitzsimmons, Lee Kendall, Gav Robinson, Ronan McCarthy, Emma Cunningham is a great group. The young snooker sensation Ryan Davies is in the draw as well. And the week after it's his older brother who openly admits he's the worst at cue sports in the family.
Yeah, incredible, really fantastic player is Aaron.
Now then, interesting to see, after we just showed that replay, a return to convention from Phil Harris on the break.
Yeah, that's a surprise for me because I think the two of the 4 breaks he'd hit the way he was, he'd actually caught brilliantly. And one of them, it wasn't actually that bad. He still got a decent split. So a little bit surprised that one in-off's the change. But I'm not against the way that Phil's been breaking. I quite like
in play.
You know, it's something that I've played around with, and I feel like it does give you a bit more freedom to have more power if it's something that you need. But Phil's decided to change. And you can see the difference. I mean, look at the number of balls that have stayed in the bottom half of the table. They've not moved anywhere.
I'll tell you what, by the way, if that first shot was intentional from Greg Batten, just to move the 8-ball to the bottom of the table, it's absolutely brilliant. It's cleared the route for so many of his yellows, off a tough opening pot as well. He's got a decent chance here. It's a tricky, fiddly little clearance. He's not got a lot of time to work out his angles. This, remember, to level things up, having been 3 frames down at 5-2. What a chance.
Needs to leave a decent angle on his last yellow because that 8-ball, the red just to the left of it, can get in the way really easily. Has to decide whether he wants to just follow it through, take the 8-ball into the bottom right, or try and come across the face of it. Well, he's so straight, it's going to be to the bottom left as we look from the overhead, bottom right from this camera angle. Not a huge amount of room.
Just that well. Just that really well. Well, well, well. We thought it to be a close match. And Greg Batten is turning up to the party in a major way here. 5-2 down. It's now 5-all. 5 minutes and 44 seconds remain. All of a sudden that match clock now comes into factor. Highly doubt we're going to see a player reach 8. Well, this is right up in the air now.
What a response from Greg. 5-2 down and he's gone reverse dish, break dish, reverse dish. When he made that, well, when he was unlucky and he missed that great effort into the centre pocket when we came back from the break. I thought that might be the end. I thought Phil was going to just see it out
Frame
from
11.
there, but the response from Greg is
Batten to break.
so impressive.
5 frames all.
Yeah, it really has been. It really has been. This to take the lead. All the 8-ball was moving towards that middle pocket. That would have been frame done and dusted. Slightly tricky spread. You can see there the reaction from Phil. What am I supposed to do? He says.
Call.
Extension called for the spider. Seen the rest and the spider in the same game.
Getting the full set out.
Yellow ball's in play.
So those 2 yellows on the right-hand side, they're the biggest problem here for Greg. They do need to be moved. Yellow actually has been half blocked by a red to the bottom left as well, and the 8 balls on the cushion. This is not a nice table to go at. Oh, he got into that too much. Not what he was playing, so it could well be a safety shot coming up now.
It wasn't a safety shot. He went aggressive. Just wonder if he's left anything at the top of the table, or are all those reds in each other's way for now, leaving Phil a pretty tough opening pot. It's a big test now for Phil.
Extension called.
Extension called. Looks like he has got a shot to play at the top of the table. I mentioned earlier on, how would Phil cope under 15 seconds? It is so quick. But he showed in his speed pool challenge, which you'll see on social media over the coming weeks, he is very capable of playing quickly.
Nearly caught himself out with the first shot though. Luckily he had the extension just to be able to solve the problem. That 8 ball at the top of the table, not guaranteed to land nicely on it. He has 2 options. He can play on it as a pot, but he could also play on it as a double, so depends which way he finishes on this last red, or depend which way he goes.
His frame is a big one as well. Really is. Just watch that match clock tick down. Such a big frame to win. This shot at the 8 ball could be absolutely massive.
Just can't leave yourself straight on this next shot. It's not ideal. He has angle, but he may not be able to get that close to the 8 ball.
And if Phil were to miss this, we could be looking at maybe the last full frame of the match, with the time that Greg will take to clear. What angle can he create? He's going the other way.
He's way too far up the table. He actually got that moving way more than he thought. He had to force that, or he felt he had to force that to even get anywhere near being able to make the double.
This is a back double, isn't it now?
Yeah.
This is very tough. What a shot, Phil Harrison! That is money!
Right.
Oh, what a shot that is. In the circumstances, clock ticking down. Pulls it out of the fire.
Wow, that's incredible. He's overhit the position onto that double by such a huge amount. To be able to pull that out, incredible stuff from Phil Harrison, really is. And I didn't think that was going to be on. What a shot.
What a sickener for Greg, isn't it? That's a
Frank
bitter,
12.
bitter pill to swallow. He's
break.
now hoping
Leaving
for a
6
dry
frames
break.
for
He
5.
needs one. If Phil was to break and clear here, it will take the majority of this match clock off. It'll be too much for Greg to try and recover. He needs a chance. He may get one. Oh, Phil's made a ball. It's actually probably the best case scenario for Phil in a way. Although I say that, I've just seen where the cue balls ended up. Greg will get a shot here. This is not a great lie at all.
I agree with what you're saying, though, because he's made a ball, but he hasn't opened up the table.
Extension
So,
call.
okay, yes, he's going to have to turn the table over here and let Greg at the table, but at least it's a horrible table for him to go at.
Yeah, Greg's already up on his feet, which is pretty wise, actually. He can use that time to scan the table and start figuring something out. He knew what Phil was going to leave him. Does this pot to the middle? No. And then actually makes it even more congested.
Have to hit a cushion after contact with the object ball, so you can't just roll up to the red here. You have to use a cushion. Not as easy this time for Phil to leave it tight.
He's got to be thinking the pot, surely. No, he's just messing things up. So then, can Greg Batten find a route to a pot here? Needs to make something happen.
Looks like yellows is his choice.
The magician needs to pull a rabbit from the hat. That's not a bad start. To force a 6-red shootout. 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock for Greg Batten to pull this one out. It's all on this now. Is it there for him?
He's got the 8 ball and 1 yellow that's going to cause him a real problem. But he has balls around it. He has a way. You can see from that camera angle, the 8 ball almost goes in the centre pocket. It's the one he's resting on now that's the real problem. Not sure if it doubles. Does it double? It might do. Maybe not from here, I don't know. It's difficult to tell.
He's playing it.
Other yellow is in the way.
Oh, and that should do it. That should just about do it for Phil. Greg knows it. So close. One pot, another will make sure. And Phil Harrison is going to squeeze through to the last 32 of the Ultimate Pool Masters by the skin of his teeth. And with a champagne shot, Phil the Farmer gets it done against Greg Batten. That was so close.
6 frames to 5. Lucky Greg.
6-5 the final score. It went down to the wire, Simon. What a match.
Yeah, what a great match. I really enjoyed that one. I thought Phil was going to run away with it when we came back from the break. It was all kind of going his way. Everything Greg was trying wasn't really happening. But that then Greg came back in such fine style. You felt like he was riding all the momentum, wasn't able to keep it on, and then that double from Phil was just incredible.
Yeah, another contender for shot of the tournament, that from Phil Harrison. Given the circumstances, what a shot to pull out when he needed it most. That's got him the win. He goes through to tonight's final, to the last 32 of the competition. Who will he face, though? Will it be Marc Farnsworth? Will it be Tom Price? We're about to find out when we come back.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters. What a match we just witnessed. Phil Harrison against Greg Batten going all the way, and that absolutely amazing back double to make it 6-5 with just under 2 minutes remaining. That was what took Phil Harrison to the next stage. We can take a look at the draw now. That name up in lights for Phil Harrison. Such a big win for him. He'll face the winner of tonight's second match, Marc Farnsworth against Tom Price. A fantastic victory for Phil Harrison, but our second match is set to be an absolute barnstormer as well. You saw it right there. It's Marc Farnsworth against Tom Price. Well, here we have it. Marc Farnsworth, the 2019 IPA World Champion.
First frame.
Against the man who's
Marc Farnsworth to break.
been the distance almost in a world competition, Tom Price. Been playing the game for a number of years now. And capable of some box office shots, as we saw there in that little clip. One of the shots of the tournament in the Champions League. A true shot maker is Tom Price. Up against a man who is clinical, cold, an assassin on the table. But not the ideal start for Marc Farnsworth, and he knew straight away.
Little bit unlucky to have it kicked in the way it was, but it was tracking that direction initially. But Tom Price is going to get the first opportunity, and for me in this match, okay, Marc Farnsworth, he's going to be favourite. Of course he is. He's one of the top players around, one of the greats of the game, but we saw so much from Tom when we saw him a few weeks ago in the Champions League. He is a big-time shot maker, and he is capable of winning this match and coming through this group. But for me, he needs to get off to a good start and take it to Marc Farnsworth, put the pressure on Marc, and he has the perfect opportunity to do so with this chance. Every red here has a problem. Just has to decide which way he wants to go about it. The 8-ball is a tricky ball depending on which pocket he wants to play it in. It's not going to be that easy to land nicely on it. But he has the time and the ball's available to work this one out, so could well be the perfect start. Just flick to the left of that yellow. If it stays underneath that yellow, it'd be an awkward shot. Left himself the angle to land on the 8-ball, and he overscrewed it a fraction, but comfortable enough shot.
Frame.
Oh, what a start from Tom Price with a reverse dish. Exactly what he needed to do. Put some pressure on Marc Farnsworth for that foul off the break. And he takes that 1-0 lead. Well, Stephen Jameson's popped out the commentary box, so we can go and get a few words with the winner of our first match, Phil Harrison.
We certainly can. Phil, that was close. It was tight with less than 2 minutes remaining. You pull out that double. Incredible shot. Talk us through it first of all.
Yeah, well, I sort of like potted my second from last red, and I clipped the one on the cushion on the way round. I didn't want to. I just wanted to leave a little bit of an angle, so because I had in mind I was going to play the double anyway, but not quite like that. But but I just tried to make sure I punched up the table to leave it, because if I didn't want to try and get it perfect. So I just left the shot really, and lucky enough it went in.
It was a close match, wasn't it? At 5-2, we were thinking here in the studio that was probably going to be it, but Greg deserves a lot of credit. He really came back hard at you.
Yeah, I mean, I've played Greg a couple of times on the Supreme Series, and he was, you know, we both had a great battle there. You know, it went close both matches, so you know, he's definitely got it in him to do it, and I actually thought he was going to roll them in the last frame as well, but luckily for me, just it didn't quite land right for him, and I feel relieved really.
It's great to see you back in an Ultimate Pool competition. How pleased are you to be competing in this competition? Obviously a bit different to the one before, and a great match lined up for you, whoever you end up facing.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic for pool. It's great for, you know, everybody really that's involved in the game, and hopefully a few youngsters will pick up a cue and have a go as well. And but yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
Well, delighted to see you play well tonight, Phil, and best of luck later on too.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right with you, Si.
Brilliant first match between Phil Harrison and Greg Batten. So great to get Greg's thoughts there, as he is awaiting the winner of this match in tonight's group final. Unbelievable break from Tom whilst that interview was going on. I'm not sure I've ever seen that many balls go in and stay in the top half of the table. But it wasn't the best of splits, even though it was incredibly powerful. And eventually, Tom missed that plant, but it's left a horrible chance for Marc, who is attacking.
Well, back in the commentary box, and lovely to hear from the farmer. Now I've got the farner at the table. Sorry, everyone. And he's not having the best of times, is he, Marc Farnsworth? It's been a tricky start for him.
Yeah, that was a tough layout to go for, though. It's always a surprise when you see him miss a pot, but it was a tough pot to miss, and it, as I said, with a couple of Greg's chances in the previous match, it's one of those that even if he'd made that, he wasn't a guarantee to finish it with the way it was laid out. I don't think he landed on his next pot, so sometimes if that's the case, you're sometimes better off missing it than making it and landing on nothing.
We talk about Marc Farnsworth, and I think I'm probably right in saying, when you talk about players that you admire most, he is right up there in your sort of pantheon. Why is that especially?
I've seen a lot of Marc over the last few years, more than I have of some of the other greats like Michael Hill and Chris Melling. I've seen plenty of them, but I've seen a lot more of Marc just been playing in similar tournaments. And for me, his pattern play and the way he goes about it, he always seems to pick routes that make the game look easy. And as somebody that was trying to learn the game and improve as a player, I really wanted to study the way he went about it and understand why he makes finishes look easy. And it's something that Marc does do.
Well, we just saw a miss there from Tom Price, which was unexpected. That was a little bit trickier for Marc, but both players just struggling to get into it here. Hand up an apology from Marc, as he's not left Tom a particularly easy shot here. That was a more difficult shot than it looked. I don't think that plan ever really went. Had to try and manufacture it, wasn't able to. And we had such a free-flowing start to our first match. This one just taking its time to come to a boil.
I find it strange. It's one of the most powerful breaks I've ever seen from Tom, and it actually left such a horrible split that neither player is able to come up with a clearance. This could be another chance for Marc Farnsworth. Tom was trying to make that yellow to the top of the table in a creative way. So the red he's next to is the toughest ball on the table. Marc may well go straight after it and play it as a skill shot, or he could leave it where it is and try and play position onto it. I think the skill shot is the more controllable way of going, but he's got hampered queuing over the yellow, so may decide not to take it on. Nicely played. He's got the red into the centre pocket. Can't take the one to the top right corner because you won't be able to stay on the other red, so it has to be on into the centre. Anything to guard against is leaving yourself straight.
Yeah, you talk about cue ball control being the mark of a great player. There's few who have better cue ball control than Marc Farnsworth. He is superb at that one particular thing. It really is a difference maker in so many matches that he's been a part of. And he's going to get himself on the board here. Not been the best of starts for Marc Farnsworth, but he is off and running and squares things up at one apiece in this second match of the night here in the Apply Mortgages Ultimate Pool Masters. Let's take a look at our final quarter of the draw. Some really, really good names in this one. My standout tie of the round as well in Michael Hill against Sean Chipperfield, but you can probably put Scott Gillespie and John Rowe in that as well. We saw John play amazingly well in the Champions League here a few months ago. If him and Scott Gillespie are on top form, that's a coin flip of a game. Some amazing matches towards the end of our run of group stage matches, 20 weeks. We will be hopefully seeing our international players joining us as well. Maltese player, a couple of Moroccans in the draw as well. It's all just starting to get a bit exciting.
Yeah, every time I look at the draw, I pick out another match I'm really excited to look forward to. I think I've worked out that I think I'm just looking forward to every single match. Excellent break here from Marc.
Yeah, that's a bit more like it, isn't it?
Controlled the cue ball right up the centre of the table. Really powerful break and opportunity. Okay, there's a little cluster to the top right, but I think the reds might be solvable without moving anything. I wonder whether the one that's welded to the yellow actually, there's enough of it to be able to pot it to the top corner from the right angle. If not, then he does have the one next to it that he should be able to nudge into it.
He's always caught a little bit of flack, hasn't he, for his breaking. Yeah, but that's only really because it is relatively weak. Because we talk about is in on-table positioning. There's barely anyone in the world better. Comparatively, his break therefore is his weakness. Even though you've always said it's actually fairly you know, middle of the road.
Yeah, it's a middle of the road break rather than being a big weapon of his. And I think there was a period there for a little while where, you know, we could really talk about his break being a weakness, but I think he's worked hard on it. He's chopped and changed, gone with different styles, trying to find something that works. And you could see that with the break he's just hit here, okay, he hasn't left a perfect layout, but the amount of power he put through the ball and control he had of the cue ball, and you know, he's made a ball and given himself a chance. You see, that is a very good break. So,
well, the thing is with Marc as well, he doesn't always need to leave a perfect layout. There's few better at picking out a finickety little pattern or playing a cute little cannon than him.
It's a fair point, actually. You know, great patterns with really good close cue ball control, and you feel like you can clear up from a lot of tricky positions where other players may struggle.
Tough draw for Tom Price, but he will fancy himself. He looked good in the Champions League when we saw him here. Obviously, already touched upon those chances that never existed that he turned into magic shots. He really is a shot maker, but he's a quality player at his heart as well. He's been deep in top level tournaments for a long time.
Yeah, World Championship semi-finalist a few years ago. He's very capable. I think he's a very, very talented ball player. Very natural as well, and big-time shot maker. Marc left himself a bad angle. Had to leave this from distance, but has left himself a shot at it, and he's missed it by quite a distance actually. So we've been raving about his close cue ball control and his pattern play, and on this occasion his cue ball control has let him down.
Yeah, one for the scrapbook, that.
Yeah. When that does happen though, it's important for Tom Price to step in and punish it. Hasn't left a really simple run out. The first 2 or 3 shots are key. I thought he might come across and play for the one on the rails. Decided to leave it. That may be his last ball now. When you have a ball on the rail like that, I always say that it's about landing nicely on it. If you do, you expect to pot it. And there isn't an easy ball to land perfectly, but he has a few different ways of landing there.
Oh, that's probably the one position on the table he didn't want to be. That is a real problem. Well, we called him a shot maker. What's he got in the locker?
Doesn't look like he can see the yellow at the top of the table, but he's eyeing it up. I wonder, he's just looking at the spot at the top of the table where he can leave the cue ball, where Marc's not going to be able to pot that red. The yellow on the rail, you'd love to be able to play safe off that one, but you can't because it's so difficult to get to a safe part of the table, so it's going to have to be off one of the yellows at the top. If this is touch and ball, it helps him, and it may well be. I didn't hear the referee's call. Either way, he's hit another yellow and hit a cushion, so wouldn't have mattered either way.
Well, he's left this really tough. It's awkward cueing. And the pot's there for Marc, but this is a really, really hard pot.
I'm not sure if he's going to take this on or not. He may well play some sort of, maybe a double in the centre. He came round to have a look. I wonder whether he was looking at seeing what would he be leaving on if he left the white in the bottom left-hand part of the table. Yeah, double in the centre.
Wasn't a million miles away from it. He's not left it particularly possible, though.
Yeah, I think his plan there is as long as he hits a jaw, it's going to stay somewhere over the pocket. And he's left the cue ball in a place where, okay, he's left a pot on for Tom, but it's a really difficult pot. But now the red's gone semi-safe, it makes the pot for Tom easier.
Not quite, and this goes. Tom put all his eggs in one basket there. He knew in playing this shot, he'd leave this red on as a double. He backed his potting ability. I think either way, a fraction either side there, he pots it, because I think he makes it off the yellow or he makes it in the heart of the pocket. That was the perfect line not to pot it, as it were.
Looked like he cued it okay as well. Just one that just didn't drop. But as I say, the red going where it has made the pot easier because it takes the pressure off the pot if you miss it. And okay, Marc's at the table and he could come up with something incredible, but it's not an easy double or anything.
Well, it wasn't an easy double. Must not have gone to the middle pocket to leave it like that. And well, this is now a great chance for Tom Price. This one has to go. There can be no excuses from here.
From Marc Farnsworth's side of the table, the red finishing where it has just makes Tom's last ball difficult or more difficult to land on. So it's not guaranteed that he's going to take these out. One good positional shot required.
Nice as a shot. Already missed one down the rail in this frame. That one was never in doubt. Right in the heart of the pocket. Tough shot made by Tom Price. And after that, the 8-ball was inevitable.
Frame.
Tom Price goes back in front. That was a niggly, tricky little frame for the pair of them. But Tom Price got over the line. Then we talk about his record of a former world semi-finalist, a former European semi-finalist. Been there and done it at the top level of the game.
Yeah, great player. As I said in that frame, I think he's incredibly talented. I think he really has got as much talent as a lot of players I've seen to be able to come up with some of the shots he does. It all seems to be really, really natural. I don't know how hard he works in terms of practice and when he's at tournaments, but he certainly has the ability to go all the way and do some great things.
He was having a bit of a catch-up with him earlier. He was in good spirits. Had a busy week at work last week, but he's been enjoying working outside in the sunshine. I've enjoyed those beer gardens opening back up as well, as I think quite a few of us have.
Indeed. Once again, incredibly powerful break from Tom. He really gets through that break incredibly well.
And he's right to look a little bit miffed for the second straight break in a row.
Yeah, no doubt.
For Marc, he too keeps himself busy in the week. Runs his own club up in Washington amongst a host of other things he has on his plate. But Q Sports has very much been at the heart of everything that he's done in the past recent years.
That was a brilliant first pot from Marc.
Yeah, I should say. And this is what we talk about, cue ball control. That's what he does so well.
Yeah, he's going to need his cue ball control in this visit, because there are 3 or 4 yellows here that need a really good position to land nicely on them. And if he's straight on this yellow here, he's a little bit handcuffed on what he can do, other than probably play on the other one at the bottom of the table, and then getting back out into a nice area of the table is difficult. He was able to create just a little bit of angle, get on this yellow, which helps him a lot. Really good nudges from Marc just to open this up. Now, he's not one good positional shot to land on this one at the top of the table. Yes, there is room, but still has to judge the pace of this shot well. This has all been judged to perfection so far, hasn't it? This has been a bit more
of the Farnsworth vintage that we've become so used to enjoying. When he won that world title in 2019, son, I know you commentated on a lot of that run to the final, including that unbelievable match he had against Tom Cousins to win it. He was great even for his standards in that tournament, and it felt like in many ways a long time coming, because he'd been at the top of the game for such a long time. It almost felt like he'd reached the summit.
Yeah, and when you can look here at the profile, the amount of titles he'd won over a short period of time as well on the IPA. You kind of felt like that was the one thing that was really missing from his CV. He seemed to be, in the final, semi-finals, and runner-up or winning nearly every tournament he played in. It just felt like it was the final piece of the jigsaw on his CV, and it was a great tournament, a great performance, and he's a great champion.
And you see there, odds to qualify 10 to 11 at the start of the night.
Marc Farnsworth,
which is
2 frames all.
Crazy to me. Odds on to qualify in a group that contains Phil Harris, and that's how rated this guy is.
Yeah, I was interested to see what they were going to do. I thought it would be which player they'd give the edge to between Phil Harris and Marc Farnsworth. I think both of them are going to be favourites for their matches. As it happens, Phil Harrison's come through his opening match. Yeah, the bookies have seen Marc as a slight favourite. There's no question here on Free Sports we've seen an awful lot more of Marc Farnsworth over the last 2 or 3 years. Well, Marc's made a ball off this break, but you could see on the replay there, didn't quite catch the break as well as he
The other ball's in play.
as he can, and therefore it's a slightly congested split. Yellows are his choice. He can play the yellow he's nearest to now. If he plays it off the red, he can open up the pocket for that yellow at the bottom. So that's one of the problems solved. I think the yellow nearest the bottom right-hand corner actually does go to that corner. The red's in the way, but not fully.
This is where you really earn your money as a co-commentator working with Marc Farnsworth, isn't it? Because so many players will be thinking this is really, really difficult, this finish, this pattern work to figure out, but it's almost like he's got a matrix, and you can see there he's just thinking 2-3 shots ahead.
Yeah, really trying to work it all out, which balls he can use to develop the bad balls, where he needs to be to get on the 8 ball, which is now his trickiest ball. As we often talk about on commentary, players at this level are really trying to work things out from the 8 ball backwards,
Extension call.
which means he's got a plan for these 4 yellows in the order he wants to take them. Okay, that can evolve if he doesn't land nicely. Difficult to tell from this camera angle whether that 8 ball goes in the left centre pocket or the top left pocket. If it doesn't, it doesn't go anywhere, but I have a feeling it may just about go in the centre. See, there is half a pocket for that 8 ball. Right, he's not going to drop on it anyway. He's left himself too much angle on this yellow to the centre pocket, so if he takes the yellow to the centre, he is playing some sort of cannon. And the 8 ball goes to the bottom left.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Absolutely what he would have had in his mind then when you see the finish all the way through. It's so good from Marc Farnsworth. Great pattern he's picked out here.
That's what he does, and he is one of the best in the world at it, Marc Farnsworth. 3-2, he leads. A bit more like it. It took a little bit of time to warm up this match, but Marc Farnsworth in particular is just starting to look a little bit more where we'd hoped he would be.
Yeah, so some very scrappy frames after that reverse dish from Tom in the opening frame between both Tom and Marc. But last 2 frames for Marc, after going 2-1 behind, he's done them both from the break, reverse dish, break dish, so he's up and running.
Tom Price to break.
Really in his rhythm, waiting, just sat there
frames.
waiting for his next opportunity. But Tom's going to try and do his best to stop it coming in this frame, because he does have a very powerful break.
It's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And he's not going to make a ball. You just can't feel anything else other than sympathy with Tom Price here. He's hit 3 unbelievable breaks. Could have hit them with a sledgehammer. And to not have a single opportunity off either of them is remarkably unlucky.
Those balls when Tom breaks are pinging open like more than I've seen with any other player. They are just
Red balls in play.
incredible how much power he's getting through that pack. It really
It's
is
amazing. It's like there's elastic bands attached to every ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And to come up dry 2 out of 3, and the one he did make a ball, it was just the worst split you could imagine, with all but 2 balls in the top half of the table. It's tough to take for Tom, because he's hit that break so well.
At that point, you really can't do an awful lot more. Really can't. And he's just got to take his medicine here, because these reds are, for Marc Farnsworth, the gimmies. It's not even that easy a clearance, but you just expect Marc to do what he does here.
You certainly do. I think Marc would have liked to have got rid of the red at the bottom of the table earlier. He didn't quite land as nicely on it as I think he wanted to, so now I think he's probably changed plan and going to leave it for his last ball. 8 ball goes to the top left, so he doesn't need to get back onto the top half of the table to take it in the centre pocket, so good angle on that last red shouldn't really be much of a problem for him.
Talk about great sort of sportsman. We talked about it earlier with Phil Taylor being announced next week as our ultimate pool wildcard cross sport. Obviously the biggest cross sport in pool is usually snooker. Marc, a fantastic snooker player himself, has at least one 147 to his name, if not more.
Yeah, I think there's multiple to his name. I think he's very much from a snooker background before moving into the pool world.
You can see that, can't you, in the way he plays and the way he approaches the table.
Just slightly hampered queuing on this red. Would love the cue ball to have gone an inch further right. Still got just about enough angle just to get the cue ball where he wants to for the 8 ball. Or has he got into that too much? We talk about it all the time, how responsive this table is, and he didn't want to be going anywhere near the 8 ball. And that reaction tells me this 8 ball can't be cut back.
Yeah, that's about as annoyed as you ever see Marc Farnsworth around the table. Is this a double at this point?
Well, it's a very difficult double if that's what he's taking on. I'm not sure if the jaw of the pocket might be in the way. Maybe can he double it into the top right corner? If he could have cut this back, he would have played it already, so I think it's got to be not on.
Yeah, extension call to try and figure this out. This is difficult, really, really difficult.
So I think he may well be playing that double to the top right corner, but thinking about where the cue ball's going to finish. Put the cue ball in that bottom left-hand corner, try and leave Tom nothing, and if he can get the 8 ball to a beat somewhere near the pocket, put the pressure on Tom.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's played. Probably was, with a bit more power here. We'll see the line here. Not far off actually pocketing it. As it flicks off this yellow, yeah, that'd have been going. Easily said in hindsight. This is, considering he's got, you know, the amount of yellows that he has to go at with open table, it's not an easy lie this for Tom Price. Just elected to play the percentage shot there.
Had the angle if he wanted to pop the yellow to the top right and go into that little cluster of 3, but by taking the one he did, He's developing a ball that's not, I wouldn't say a bad ball, but it's a ball that he would like to get away from a cushion, and he's leaving it safe at the same time.
Yeah, and you know the way that Tom's played that. You can see where he's left the white, that it wasn't an attempted pot. It's a pretty good shot from Marc here. But that should open things up for Tom Price. Top of the table is tough.
Yeah, it's not an inviting layout for him to go at all.
It is not. It really is horrible, this.
And it's difficult to play a shot that's going to stop Marc having sight of the 8-ball if he wants to play safe, which you really don't want to give him open ball sight at it because you feel like he's going to come up with something. You don't want to run the risk. So what does he do? He can pot the yellow to the bottom left. That's the easiest pot he has on. He's going to take the one to the either in the centre or the corner. That's not come out particularly kindly for him either. The 8-ball, I think there is enough room for it to go to the top left, so playing the snooker behind this yellow is risky if he overhits the shot. No, he's played it well.
Tough hit, this. Done it well. Doesn't really mind about that yellow going in. Because if anything, makes Tom's life a little bit more difficult, actually. But at least he gets to disturb this top of the table now whilst playing safe. Again, that's not come out too kindly.
Yeah, possibly hit them a fraction too hard, but it's not that bad when you consider that Marc's going to move the 8-ball if he hits it, and if he doesn't, then at least you get to place the cue ball in a position to move it anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Now it looks a little better. You're absolutely right. Don't think he's quite come as far across as he wanted to there. Cranking the neck, trying to see the angle. It's difficult, this.
Yeah, I think he's missing the yellow at the top, which he doesn't want to. I know he is going into it. Well, he's made it thin to try and get that cannon, and he didn't get it.
The only pocket I think Marc could have made this to, though, is the pocket that Tom Price has just covered. Or is he about to make me look very silly indeed? Surely the middle's too thin there.
Yeah, possibly back to the top right. The cue will be flying around, but you've got to get it in somewhere. Oh, he's gone for the cut into the bottom left. That would have been something special. Again, he's left it awkward. It's just not leaving Tom a really good chance to go for these.
Tom must be thinking at this point, come on, mate. Help me out. Marc is not far off making that, by the way. Really close to making that. Tried to play cushion first with a ton of side. Very nearly worked.
Ideally, you want to leave the yellow at the top of the table to land nicely on the 8-ball, which means he's going to have to take this one from distance and try and punch the cue ball back out into the middle of the table will be perfect. Into it a fraction too much. He wanted to be in the middle of the table rather than the left-hand side, which means he's too thin now to just track down behind the 8-ball to the bottom right corner. So may well now come down the table and possibly be thinking about a double. Not sure if he can play this slow enough to hold on the 8-ball.
Pot's good. A jaw helps, kind of. We go into it a little bit too much.
Well, he could go either way here. He's eyeing up the potting angle for the cut.
Committed to it straight away. Never a doubt in his mind. This for 3-3. Nails it. Tom Price, where's the cue ball? He's good. It's fine.
Frame.
Don't worry about it. 3-3. With a shade under quarter of an hour remaining, there is still plenty to play for here in this first round match in the Ultimate Pool Masters. Don't go anywhere, this match finishes when we return.
Yellow ball's in play.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters here on Free Sports. Marc Farnsworth at the table as the 15-second shot clock ticks on over. Tom Price with a wonderful chance to go into the lead. This was a shot that Tom Price played right towards the end of his clearance as he moved towards the 8-ball, but he couldn't quite make the 8-ball work. Went for the double, went in off, and that's why you join us here for this opportunity for Marc Farnsworth. It's a big frame to win this with 9 minutes left on the clock. You don't want to be behind at this stage of the match. It's a really tough one to chase. And Tom Price there had such a good chance to go in front. Played such a good shot on that yellow to make the chance manifest, but just couldn't quite get over the line.
Yeah, it felt like a finish that was kind of getting away from him as he went through, and that incredible shot to the top left, followed by a really good cut back to the bottom left, was brilliant. It looked like he'd pulled it back, but the black didn't quite go to the bottom right corner, and then the missed double. So a little bit of a let-off for Marc Farnsworth, but his 8-ball still needs to be potted.
Put your house on this, mind.
Might put yours on, not mine.
I'd put yours on. 4-3, Marc Farnsworth leads. And a big lead to take at this juncture. These are the stats as we have them so far. It has been a little bit scrappy. 2 missed pots apiece, a reverse dish apiece. Yet to see a finish off the break, which I think really sums up this match so far. Well, one you have to feel sorry for in a sense is Tom Price off his break, because he's been breaking huge.
He has, but he's not been as big as he's been breaking. It's almost like all the balls going in the top half of the table and leaving awkward tables, and a couple of Marc's finishes have been awkward as well, and Marc's made a couple of positional errors when he's had chances as well. So even though, you know, 2 missed pots apiece, you know, the mistakes have been more positionally or difficult layouts.
Well, there's a ball off the break at long last. You feel like Tom Price has really deserved that. It's another huge hit. It's just amazing how he's getting through the pack.
That's a monster break, but I think he may have taken a little bit off that break as well.
I'd argue it's the worst one he took of the night, but there we are.
Yeah.
Funny old game.
Important visit to the table, though.
Oh, this is massive. Oh, we needed that to go. Needed that to go. Now then, Marc Farnsworth, like a great white, sniffs danger, leaps from his chair, and knows this is his chance to go for the kill here.
Extension call.
Wonderful opportunity for Marc Farnsworth.
That red staying over the pocket and going just to the side of the pocket. Oh, Marc's gone for the skill shot straight away. I was about to say he's going to want to play some sort of skill shot. Didn't think he had the angle to do it there, but he did. Great shot.
Such a good shot, isn't it?
That's the miss from Tom. Was a tighter pocket, but still thought he was going to make it. So a big issue here for Marc. Everything looks wide open and looks easy, and yes, okay, it is open, but the positional shot from the three yellows at the top of the table down to the yellow at the bottom of the table is key. That red just to the right hand side of it, it could easily get on the way if you go too far.
Yeah, this needs some working out. It's not obvious. That's a handy little shot. But this is the big one. Yellow to yellow. And it would be such a massive frame to win.
He's a little bit short, which is not a surprise, because if you go one roll too far, you're on nothing. But he can still pot this. The red's too far away to make it a big pocket, so this is a tough pot. He's hit it too thick.
Now then, Tom Price. Here's your opportunity. This is the chance.
Just like Marc Farnsworth, Tom Price is going to need a skill shot to complete a clearance at this visit. Can't do it from the red he's on now. Needs to leave an angle on the red to the bottom right to be able to get across, and not just either cannon the red out the way. Oh, he's miscued.
Oh no.
He's completely miscued, and that is a gift of a frame for Marc Farnsworth. An absolute gift.
Oh no.
Well, he was trying to play the skill shot off that shot, so he was trying to reverse, screw back with a reverse side and get into the yellow. Which is why he's miscued. Tried to play it with so much screw and side.
Yeah, it's one of those that looks an awful lot worse than it is, but the shot he was trying to play there was so crazy.
Frame.
Easily done. See here where the cue's placed on the ball, right on the right side of the ball and right at the bottom of it as well. Really pushing the lines of what is and isn't possible.
Yeah, big mistake as well, because you feel like once Marc misses his last ball, you have to win that frame. You have to step in and tie the scores up, especially when you look at the match clock as well. So a huge mistake, Tom. And I expect when he looks back at that mistake there, it won't be the shot there where he's miscued. It'll be the shot before where he had to leave himself an angle of some sort. He had to leave himself an angle where he could get down into that yellow over the pocket.
Frame number 9, Marc Farnsworth to break, leading 5 frames to 3.
It's a big one to win. Tom Price now you feel has to win the next 2 of 2. Don't think there's going to be too many more than that, barring anything fairly miraculous. To force a 6 red shootout. Marc Farnsworth though has made a ball, and if he can go close to a clearance, that should just about scramble him over the line. It'll set us up, by the way, for an unbelievable final.
Extension call.
Not the greatest break that Marc has ever hit. You can see a big difference between the power that both players have on the break, that's for sure. But he has made a ball.
Red ball's in play.
Wanted to open up the red and he hasn't, so that's a problem that hasn't been solved. But he's got a couple more reds at the bottom end of the table, so he can come back to that area in a couple of shots' time. Still on here.
Yeah, and you feel like he doesn't need all of this as well. He runs the clock down and goes close to finishing this. Even if he doesn't quite get over the line, still make him huge, huge favourite of the match. There just isn't that much time left. It really was such a big error from Tom, and there has been a couple of them.
It may be why he's going for the reds at the top of the table first. Didn't land nicely to be able to come down the table, so has decided to clear all the ones up the top first. But it does mean that you're leaving your bad ball still to be developed. I also think that the fact that he's got the guaranteed ball to develop it with control, just stun into the 8 ball, doesn't even have to hit this with a huge amount of pace.
It's one of those Marc Farnsworth where you see him at the start of a clearance and think, oh, this looks tricky. They've just sort of skipped forward 30 seconds, like, how's he done that?
And that is what makes great players, the way they see the table. I think this is okay. You can just drift round for the 8 ball. Yeah, just for a second I thought he might have been too thin, but he's okay.
Perfect, look at that. 6-3, and Marc Farnsworth is all but there with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the match clock. Had to do it the hard way a little bit here, Marc Farnsworth. He hasn't quite found it as easy as he would have liked. He's given up more chances than I think he would have liked. For Tom Price, it might be a night of a few moments of regret. He's had opportunities where he hasn't quite made the most of it. He's also been unlucky, there's no mistake about that. The breaks that he's hit have deserved more.
Yeah, I think he's going to look back at 1 or 2 moments in this match and just regret not making the most of them, though.
Frame number 10.
Amazing how quickly the match has got away from him.
Trailing 6 frames
From
to
that
3.
miscue where you felt like he was going to tie the scores up. All of a sudden, 2 minutes 40 on the clock and he's 3 frames behind.
Just see his body language there. What else do you want me to do? It's really tough. Really,
Red
really
ball's in
tough.
play.
It's his 3rd dry break, maybe 4th.
Yeah, I think that's 2 or 3.
And it's just amazing that it's even possible.
We talk about the break a lot, and for me there's a huge amount of skill in the break. There really is, but there's also going to be a chunk of luck in there as well. And Tom probably won't have a night again where he breaks this well and this badly in the same sentence.
Marc Farnsworth might even get the chance to win it outright. This will take him to 7-3, 1 away from home. Brilliant clearance on a 15-second shot clock. Super stuff from Farnsworth, really was. And this is what we talked about a little bit earlier when we talked about what Price needed to do to win. Is if Marc gave him a chance off his, he needed to take it. And we talked about Marc being that predator. He smells danger, doesn't he? And he's so clinical, so calm, so collected, but lethal when given the opportunity. He takes the chance that others don't.
Yeah, and he's made, Marc made a few mistakes early on in this match. When he a couple of positional errors, missed a couple of pots,
Frame 11,
but Tom didn't make the most of them, as you say. And
leading 7 frames to 3.
we'll come back to it, but that big moment where he miscued, he should be 4-4. All of a sudden, he's 5-3 behind, and he hasn't touched the table since. Marc's, just taking control once he was given that lifeline.
And he hits his best break of the night. This is what happens. It's impossible to quantify. It's one of those incalculables, but often what separates the best players from the very, very good players. It's that ability to take a match away, take the bull by the horns, and just go and win it. Have that extra gear to go to.
Understanding the moment, isn't it? This is the moment, I need to win this moment, and if I do, I'm going to win the match. And you can see how, he's so much more relaxed than he was at 4-3 up when looks like he's in all sorts of trouble. You could see the tension in his face, and he wasn't queuing up freely, but all of a sudden he's let off the hook, and well, he's going to run out with 3 straight finishes from the break. Well, we talked that one in, but still.
And Tom Price has conceded. That will just about do us, I think, for that match. I think that game is over. Tom Price conceded. Yes, he has, with 25 seconds on the watch. Tough night for Tom, you got to say. But a lethal performance from Marc Farnsworth. 4 missed pots. Not that you'd really count them because there were so many good clearances. A great performance from Marc to get there, Simon, when he wasn't playing particularly well initially. He's had to grind that one out a little bit.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the match it was a combination of not quite being on it, but also the fact that he was getting difficult layouts to go out. Both players were, other than that first clearance from Tom. But once he got, as we've said, once he managed to get in front, once he, he sensed the moment to really grab it, he did, and very impressive at the back end of that match.
Yeah, he absolutely was. Well, what a final it sets us up for, ladies and gents. Marc Farnsworth against Phil Harrison. Yes, please. It's when we come back. Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters here on Free Sports. We have our final set. It will be Marc Farnsworth against Phil Harrison. Before we hear from Marc Farnsworth, Simon, let's just preview this one very quickly, because this is a mouth-watering one, isn't it? It's one of those where as a neutral, you sort of picked it out, I think, before the start of the night and just thought, oh, that could be a little bit tasty. And here we are. What a chance to see 2 of the greats go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, I think before the night started, the bookies had these as the 2 favourites for their matches, and so this is what people expected. But both Greg and Tom were capable of winning. It didn't go their way tonight, but this is a mouth-watering match, really. We've got 2 former world champions. We've got 2 of the guys that would have been tipped as big favourites for this competition. They're big favourites for every competition they play, and the fact we're seeing them play each other in the second round is incredible. And it's a match that you just can't call. It's which player's going to get the chances. Both players play with such great control and such good patterns, and they very rarely miss anything, that you feel like the player that gets the most chances is probably going to win and walk away with a match.
It's such a good prospect. Can't wait for this one. In the break, we did catch up with Marc after his victory. A terrific performance, it must be said, against Tom Price, and this is what Marc had to tell us. Marc, big congratulations. Got there in the end. It was a tough start for you, but you just seemed to grow with the match there.
Yeah, it felt really good all the way through the match, to be fair. Just kept making a couple of daft mistakes early on, just getting into it, It's a first competitive match for months, so a little bit rusty, but I felt comfortable all the way through. Just a couple of daft mistakes here and there.
Yeah, does it feel like a sort of match that you would have to grow into to feel comfortable with that long layoff, as you speak of? You're used to playing all the time. It has been a little while.
Yeah, I've never really seen Tom play, so I wasn't sure what to expect, So I put a bit of time in the last few weeks, so I felt comfortable in my own game. But you don't know what to expect, and a couple of things went wrong early doors. The first break hit terrible, got kicked in off. So I wouldn't say up against it early doors, but I couldn't get my hand on the table, and then it felt better as the match wore on.
It's a good final for us, I must say. As a neutral, Marc Farnsworth versus Phil Harrison is enough to get me excited. Is it enough to get you excited? It's a great match.
Yeah, I've known Phil for a lot of years. We've had a lot of tough battles over the years. He's a great bloke, great player. So I'm looking forward to the match. So.
Well, that makes 2 of us, mate. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, such a great match in prospects, and we talked about both of them. They're actually quite similar players in a weird way, Simon, stylistically, and also the way they approach the game. They tend to just do the fundamentals very, very well, and almost slightly different in the way they've approached the codes of the game with 8-ball and with the world rules form of the game, but very, very similar players.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely hit the nail on the head there. I think two great players that play with their patterns are so good and their cue ball control is so good that they always make the game look easy. You can be forgiven for watching them play and go, well, yeah, they've done nothing special there. They've just made 7 or 8 straight pots. But they've picked the order to make it special, and their control is so good. And that's what great players do, and these two are absolutely two of the greats of the game.
Well, before we go into tonight's final, let's take one last look at the draw. We do have a new name moving on through it. Phil Harrison facing off against Marc Farnsworth for the right to face any one of Phil the Power Taylor, Rob Chilton, Carl Morris or Gio Edgar in that last 16 match. It's Marc who's won the lag. He'll be up first. And let tonight's final commence. A great match in prospect. Can't wait for this one.
Well, similar to his opening break in his previous match, not the best result. Okay, the cue ball stayed on the table this time, but he is dry, which means Phil Harrison is going to get the first opportunity. Not the most powerful break that Marc has ever hit. And the layout is awkward as well. So not a great opening opportunity for Phil Harrison. You ideally, I think, would like to get yellows on the board, even if you don't go for the finish. Yellows have a fraction more control in the frame, having those 2 bottom pockets. But in international 8-ball rules, having the pockets is less of an advantage as they are in other rule sets.
It's a horrible first layup this for both players, really. That cluster on the right side of the table is really problematic for either player. Don't think Marc will particularly mind Phil going at this. It's going to be a 3-ball plant, maybe? Well, he's gone for the cuts. I thought he might try and take on a billiard-style shot to the bottom of the table. He tried to cut it, didn't quite make it in the end. And you have to say, if that had have gone, he'd have still had a decent chance for them in the frame.
Yeah, I didn't see the cut into the centre pocket, but I actually thought he might be playing some sort of safety, trying to develop a yellow and or maybe 1 or 2 yellows at the same time as playing safe. Does have, as I say, control at the bottom end of the table, but was trying to sort of hedge his bets and play the pot as well. Marc may just drop this yellow in at the bottom of the table and with the red and keep it safe. Yeah, that's what he's done. This is one of the things that makes international 8-ball rules so attacking, is the fact that those balls over the pocket, having the ability to pot those balls and just giving away loss of turn, just stops frames from ever getting bogged down for too long. It just keeps the game moving, keeps things more attacking.
Yeah, it really does, and it stands to reason that in the entire time we've been playing this rule set in the Champions League and in the Masters so far, it's a lovely little double from Phil, lovely touch. Not left himself a huge amount on the other side of it though. A little unlucky. Just going back to the point, the entire time we've been playing this rule set over these competitions, the number of sort of really slow, stodgy frames, I can't even think of one, because it's forced good tactical players to play good tactical shots when the situation's called for it, but it's so difficult to get bogged down in that.
Yeah, there's still a huge amount of tactics involved, knowing the right time to go for it and when you want to play safe and how you play safe, like Marc did in this previous on his previous visit and things like that. But you know, it can't be prolonged. It's always has an end purpose, and it's always moving forward.
Oh, I tell you what, that's a shot.
That's a great effort. He still has one problem ball.
Must be some clearance if he can make it happen. It really would.
I just wonder if he's left an angle on the yellow nearest the 8-ball into the centre pocket, and he can just stun down and nudge the red to leave himself on a plant. Yeah, just where he's looking now. He's looking to see whether he can just roll this through and be on the plant. If he can't, then he may have the angle just to flick into the red. No, he's just going to roll it through, so he believes he can land rather than having to play a cannon. No, he's not happy.
Well, this is what we talked about, though. Is Phil happy?
Yeah.
Tends to be when he looks annoyed. He's probably played his line.
So it does always look thinner than it, or he's got more room thinner than you think, because he can play the plant off the cushion first. In fact, he wants to play it off the cushion first because he wants the yellow to then flick away from the red. So he wants it to cushion first because it will be thinner and it will go up at the table. And it's awfully tight whether it's too thin from where he is now. Might just be on though.
I think it is. Brilliant. He's played some great shots tonight, Phil Harrison. He really has. But he looks comfortable out there. And this is an opening gambit, by the way, to set the tone, to set a marker down. How are you feeling in this pressure cooker? Top opponent versus top opponent. Ridiculously high tariff clearance. 1-0 Phil Harrison.
And not just that, it's made the clearance on the back of a safety shot that Marc was really happy with. Marc was happy to turn the table over, play the shot he did, and Phil said, thank you very much, I'll make that clearance.
Well, there he is, Phil Harrison, a wonderful player with a resume as good as anyone else's, really. A former world champion, 3 times world master, and a 2-time Supreme Series winner as well. There's a host of other competition that haven't quite made that list. Not many players in the game can match up with that sort of CV, and still very much, as mentioned earlier, at the peak of his powers. Hasn't slowed down at all, Phil Harrison, despite that World Championship win. That was what, nearly 11, 12 years ago now. Back to that break, throwing the arm through the cue. Don't think he'll be back to it for too long though. Lost the cue ball here a little bit. It's gone down the hole. Now let's just have a look at this replay. Is it a little bit unlucky, or has he lost control?
I think this is unlucky, yeah. It's going a little bit too close to the corner on its line, but it was staying in the middle of the table, really. I know that Phil's going to be really unhappy to go in off there, and absolutely right. But when you compare the way he was breaking in the Champions League to the way he's breaking here with this new style of break, I hope he stays with this new style, because there's no doubt about it for me. He's got a huge amount more power with this break.
And you said it before the start of this match, whoever gets the more chances is likely to win it.
Extension call.
You'd say, and we've talked about, Marc Farnsworth's break gets talked about a huge amount, and I don't think it's the biggest problem, as big a problem as some people try to make it out to be, but it is weak compared to the rest of his game. But you'd say exactly the same thing about Phil Harrison. Very, very similar.
Yellow ball's in play.
To play that into the middle pocket with that much pace, with 1 second left on the shot clock, was bold.
Yeah, I think the reason he's taken so long is he's trying to work out how does he deal with that yellow and 8 ball at the top of the table, and he actually could have left himself an angle to go into it and open it up, and he's decided not to. So he must have a plan for that area. Use one of the yellows into the middle pocket and go into the yellow and 8 ball, but it's not guaranteed to come out well with that many reds around it. You feel like there's always going to be a red in the way somehow.
Oh, that's some shot. He's a little unlucky. Has he got an out here?
I don't think so. I think he's not landed at all. It's really well to get the yellow out. The 8 ball hasn't come out, and he hasn't landed on the next pot. Can he cut one of these back to the bottom right, or one into the centre?
Too sure what Marc was playing there.
I think he was trying to hit the second red down, and he's caught the first one. He's not hit the ball he was trying to hit.
Yeah, because that shot in and of itself didn't make a whole lot of sense. At least to me. Let's turn the table over here, Phil, and whilst this is tricky, it's a great chance for Harrison to double his frame tally.
Yeah, all the Reds have a pocket. You can see that one by the 8 ball. He's going to play it now. There's 2 on the side cushion, but one good positional shot to land in between them both, and you expect him to clear those. Although it looks like he's landed short on his first positional shot. It'll be a plant rather than potting the one over the pocket.
Plant really nicely, and as again, it's that cue ball control, isn't it? It's just so elite from the pair of them.
Yeah, and he's landed exactly where he wants to be, on the one to the top right, an angle where he can hold it for the one to the bottom right, and that just gets him into the middle pocket, and then it's pretty simple for a player of Phil's ability from there.
Just stands to reason, doesn't it, that if this was, you know, I don't know how many weeks we're on now, if this was 18 weeks time and this was our Ultimate Pool Masters final, you wouldn't twitch at that, would you? And that's the standard these two play at and are expected to play to. We're seeing it in round 2. One of them's going to exit the competition here.
Yeah, 2 of the big favourites for not just this tournament, but any tournament they enter. That is their level.
Phil Harrison again has made a fairly tricky finish. Look, unerringly routine. Getting better, which is the scary thing. I think you can say that from his shootout performance in the autumn of last year, the Champions League competition, and now tonight he is improving week on week.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound strange to say for a guy that's been around that long, but I think he's just getting more and more comfortable with the environment, with the fact that there are, you know, some different, you know, shot clock rules on him and that sort of thing. But yeah, I completely agree with you.
Marc Farnsworth, we mentioned not many could compete with Phil Harrison's resume. Marc Farnsworth can. He is 2 as a world champion, as well as a 5-time professional tour event winner and a 2-time open event winner on the IPA as well in recent years. He's a very busy player though, Marc Farnsworth. He plays an awful lot of tournaments. He's a regular in the Supreme Series in this venue that have been played over the years.
Yeah, made the quarterfinals of one of the big tournaments that was run from here in that Supreme Series. Ended up losing to Liam Dunster, who went on to win the tournament.
Dry break. It's interesting, you can almost see Marc not really feel that. As soon as he contacts it, you just look at his facial expression, but it doesn't seem to have been a bad hit, but he's certainly not got a ball down. And even at this early juncture, and it is early, long, long way to go yet, 3-0 requires some coming back from.
Yeah, 3-0 in a race to 8, you feel you're in the match, you just need to get some chances and get going, but the extra element is that match clock. 3-0 with half an hour left, all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit more uncomfortable, and it's only going to get worse as that clock keeps ticking down. What problems does Phil have here? So he's taking on Reds. The one he's nearest to, he's decided goes to the bottom right-hand corner. Get that out of the way now, and then it will just be that one nearest the 8 ball. Looking from the overhead, I wonder whether that one nearest the 8 ball would squeeze into that corner pocket.
It's close, isn't it? It's really close. Problem that Marc's got goes too far behind early on. As Phil can do this all night. Seen the form he's in. He is so exceptionally good. And it'd be the same if the shoe was on the other foot. It is difficult to rein back in a lead when your opponent is playing this well. See here, Phil's looking at a development shot from red onto yellow to cannon the red out at the top left of the table.
If he tries to screw into the yellow, then he could end up behind the yellows and be on nothing. So he might want to try and use a cushion, but he's worried about missing it. He just caught it. And that's a nice shot.
He's played some exceptional shots tonight, Phil.
If he takes the one to the bottom left, the positional side of that shot isn't ideal. That's what he's having a look at. You can clearly get through to the potting angle. He's just really having a look to see what sort of angle he's got if he screws this back. And that's okay. In fact, that's pretty close to perfect. I think he pots this to the top right. It goes through the gap of the 8-ball and the yellow. You can play it either way. If he's on the one in the centre, it's even better. It looks like he is the way he's eyeing this one up.
Yeah, they'll do it.
So this is a change of route, but would make things easier.
Well, he's got the time to reroute. Goes back to his original plan.
Well, now things are slightly trickier. I think he would have wanted to be on the red to the bottom right corner first. If he lands straight on the one to the bottom right corner, then it's really, really simple. Now he has to play a good positional shot.
And as invariably happens when Phil Harrison has to play a good positional shot, Phil Harrison plays a good positional shot. Just saw there in your shot, a good glimpse of that hearing aid that Phil wears. Gets a few extra cues from the referee when he's at the table for the shot clock and for other instances. Never ever lets it affect him. He's such a smooth operator. This for 3-0. And a near perfect start for Phil Harrison.
Frame.
Could scarcely have played better and had a better result than this so far. Phil Harrison leads by 3 frames to 0.
And this is the way it can go sometimes. Marc's not done a huge amount wrong.
We saw the first quarter of the draw at the start of this match. This is the second. Some good players in that side of the draw. And they all fancy their chances of making their way to the semi-final. Declan Brennan along in Group 8. He's a real player to watch. Josh Kane is back. Good to see Josh. He was originally meant to be in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Sadly, a positive COVID test curtailed that for him.
Yeah, Jordan Church on that side of the draw, that quarter of the draw as well. Really looking forward to seeing Jordan play again. Was in fine form before lockdown hit.
Sticks with that break. So he should. Wow. Wow.
Such a powerful break doing it this way.
And he has to have worked on that, because you don't just come out and play it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of practice to get that good.
I mean, I wonder, I'll have to ask somebody that's seen him play through the years, whether he's chopped and changed and used that before. Not something I've seen him use before, but it is a weapon when he does pull it out. It is so much more powerful than his normal break.
His first shot's the toughest hit. He's not got an easy opening shot, but I think the advantage is he can really take either colour set.
Extension called.
Wants more time to think about it. He's not got a huge amount more. What's he thinking here?
I think he's taking on yellows, so he's coming one cushion to pot the yellow.
Yellow ball's in play.
It's a really good shot.
That's just one of those situations where I think you'd have to let the referee know that you are taking on the yellows rather than trying to play a red thin or anything like that, but I'm assuming he did that.
I think that was a slightly more difficult shot than I initially gave it credit for as well, because I think he had to play outside. It wasn't a straight double. He's had to judge that really well.
Yeah, but you can look at the layout he's left himself as well. It's such a good shot, but once he makes it, he backs himself to clear up from here. I'm sure Mark sat in his chair and is expecting him to clear up.
A 4-0 lead at this stage would be massive. Talk about a 3-0 lead being big. 4 is starting to just play on the mind of Marc Farnsworth, undoubtedly. Because the way that Phil's playing, Marc Farnsworth may not put a foot wrong, and he could still lose this handily from this point on. It's a worry.
All you can do is take the chances that come your way, and unfortunately for Marc Farnsworth and his supporters, they're not coming his way, they're coming Phil's way, and he's taken them, and he's taken them in style.
Yeah, isn't he just? He said he'd make these two make the game look simple, and at the moment we're seeing Phil Harrison make this game look stupidly easy. A master craftsman at work. Few better than Phil Harrison in this sort of mood. 4-0. He advances in this match. It's the first to 8 or 50 minutes, whichever comes first. By the moment, race to 8, all the 50 minutes. It's looking more like a race to 8. This is the third quarter of the draw. Some great names in this one. We talked about the two Davies brothers at the bottom half of that, Ryan and Aaron. Aaron got a great first round match against Shane Thompson. That's one of their ties of the rounds. Some great games in there as well.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Simon Fitzsimmons back on our screen. Everyone remembers what he did at the grand final. Clearing up
Marc Farnsworth to break.
twice against Jordan Shepherd in a little over 2 minutes. Incredible to steal away victory in the grand final. And at the bottom of the draw, John Chambers. Really looking forward to seeing John play as well. Great character and a great player. Now, chance for Marc Farnsworth. And he needs to take it.
Red ball's in play.
And he should. He absolutely should. His reds are all there. It's a good break from Farnsworth. Great chance for him here. And he needed that. A broken dry. It might have been curtains even at this early stage. Still 27 minutes left. Not even halfway.
One thing these great players know is that they're capable of going on a run where they just clear up, 3, 4, 5 frames on the trot, if not more, and they know their opponent is capable of doing so. So they can sit there and take it. When their opponent's doing it, they sit there and they don't get too annoyed or too frustrated. They are just waiting. They can only control what they can control, and you have to wait for your chance. And when it comes, you need to step in and take it. And it's amazing how often you can see the momentum swing and change.
Well, he needed this. Marc Farnsworth, he really needed it, but hasn't he made this look a very, very comfortable clearance? Not a toe out of line on that one. It's 4-1. He's back to within 3. Great finish from Farnsworth.
Super quick finish as well, which helps him when you're playing a timed match.
It certainly does. If we take a look at the final quarter of this 64-player draw, some great games in prospect in that one as well. I talked about Scott Gillespie, John Rowan, Hill Chipperfield earlier on. See Amin Bounif against John Sullivan. Got the other Moroccan as well, Omar Munshid against Carl Boys. That's a great group, that.
Yeah.
Really good group.
Great players all the way
Frame number
through.
6.
The bottom of the draw
Phil
there,
Harrison
saw
to break, leading 4
Leiden de
frames to
Bono.
1.
He's a fantastic young player from Malta. Really looking forward to seeing him come over.
I think you could probably argue that it's a tough argument. I think the first and the fourth quarters of the draw are absolute murderers' rows, aren't they? They really are. Wherever you look, just names absolutely everywhere.
Well, to me, this match sums it up. You know, you've got Phil Harrison and Marc Farnsworth playing each other in the second round. Yeah, it's incredible. Massive break from Phil once again.
And they know that if they are to go through to the next rounds and they win that, congratulations, but you'll play either Jordan Shepherd or Chris Melling.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be in that same group, wouldn't they? Yeah, this is our third match in the quarter, isn't it? One more match to come in the quarter, and
The first last 16 round is looking tasty, to say that whoever qualifies
Red
out.
balls in play.
yeah, no doubt. That's what's happened here.
Yeah, these two will await the winner of Rob Chilton versus Phil the Power Taylor. Yeah, that one. And former world champion Carl Morris up against the young gun Gio Edgar. That's a clash of the eras. Carl Morris, a world champion in the VHS era. Gio Edgar doesn't even know what a DVD is.
Yeah, very much a clash of eras. Should be a fascinating week. I'm no idea what's going to happen next week.
Oh, next week's
Cannot
chaos.
wait. Cannot wait.
Next week is chaos.
Nice angle on this red. He can just drift through the gap. Land on a choice of all three, the way they're laid out. He's hit the gap. And that's fine. Just suspect he'll leave the red into the centre pocket as his last ball. It always looks easier on our screens than they really are, but I think that one, if he lands behind it, will be comfortable enough, and he should land behind it from where he has landed now. 2 shots time. Eight ball does go to the bottom right-hand corner pocket. So
He's just in frightening form, isn't he, in this match? This was not an easy clearance. And he's made it look so routine so far. Don't want to put the jinx on him by talking this one in, because he's still got a bit of work to do, but goodness me, Phil Harrison is playing unbelievably well tonight. He was really good in his first round match. He's been sensational in this one. And Phil Harrison with a simple pot to restore his four-frame cushion. Let's go 5-1 in front. The farmer is on fire.
Frame.
What a performance in this final so far from Phil Harrison, who is rolling on. I'm going to take a quick break. This will conclude when we return. Phil the farmer is in a hurry.
Yellow balls in play.
Well, welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters. I would say I haven't missed much, but that'd be a complete lie. Phil the Farmer is on a roll. He's won another one in the time that we have been away. Simon, he's just unstoppable at the moment. We watched much of that clearance through, and he was pitch perfect, millimetre perfect on some of his shots just throughout. This is as good as you can play the game, this.
Yeah, reverse dish. Marc Farnsworth went in off the break, and it was another one of Phil's clearances where he was never in trouble. Pinpoint, perfect control all the way through.
It's just amazing to watch. It really is. He's been sensational. And I believe in the break, so you got a bit of an insider tip as to the Phil Harrison break as well.
Yeah, this new style of break that we've been going on about, actually Phil's been using it for a little while in certain times. It's been, he messaged me just to let me know he was using it in 2019 at the Masters. I think he should use it more. He didn't use it at all in the Champions League. And
yeah, use it more. Use it every single frame. Why wouldn't you? He's nearly gone and potted the 8-ball there to really complete what's been an almost perfect performance. I say almost, it has been perfect. He's not done anything wrong. It's been flawless in this match. And someone as good as Marc Farnsworth is just forced to sit and watch. He's got the best seat in the house for an exhibition from Phil Harrison. Almost envy him.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, no, it has been though. Phil's got all the chances and he's taken the majority of them. Marc's one frame was a break and dish, and he had a half a chance earlier on which he wasn't able to take, and other than that it was a safety that he was happy with, and Phil just came up with the goods off the back of that safety. Other than that, Phil has cleared up relentlessly. Already got 4 clearances from the break in his 6 frames. Eyeing up another one here, and yeah,
just a little touches like that as well. The confidence that he's playing with at the moment. Just knocking that yellow safe just in case. It's been a glorious performance so far from Phil Harrison. Did think this increased shot clock would help him, and it just seems to have made him feel even more comfortable. He looks so at home right now.
Just in his normal rhythm. The short shot clock is not something, even though he's been around the game for a long time, the short shot clock is only something that's come in relatively recently, so he won't have had too much experience with it. But once we're at 45 seconds, he's very comfortable out there, playing within his normal rhythm. Just gives him more time to check he's happy with his route and his pattern and where he wants to be. That little couple of steps around the table just to make sure he knows where he wants to be on the left-hand side of the table for his next shot.
It's been so impressive. It has been so impressive. A little bit blown away by this, Simon. I really am. This is as good as you can play it. Genuinely has not made a single mistake. Top quality play of the highest caliber.
To put it into context, that's 5 finishes on the break in the last 6 frames from Phil, and the other frame was a break dish from Marc. So the last 5 times that Phil's come to table, he's cleared up. And he did that from a position of being 2-0 up, which is just nothing Marc could do. Sit there and watch a great player play at his best.
Frame number 9.
We've reached the point where
trailing 7 frames.
Marc needs so many things to go his way, and the clock is now just against him. This is such long odds that he can get back into this.
Oh, that 8-ball nearly got kicked in. It's a great break from Marc. It's the strange thing about this game. Marc has not done an awful lot wrong at all. He's really hasn't done an awful lot wrong. The shot that he let Phil in on in the second frame, the safety that he played, he was pretty happy. He's like, yeah, go on then. If you fancy trying to go for that clearance, be my guest. Turns out that's the biggest mistake that he made, maybe.
Yeah, it was a clearance even for a player of Phil Harrison. You know, you'd say it was odds against, but he was able to come up with that clearance, and then from there, you know, that's 2-0 ahead at that point. You know, he's been absolutely flawless and relentless, and there's nothing you can do.
Marc's had a couple of break dishes now. He's going to do one here that have been taken apart and dusted in about, you know, a minute apiece. It's not like in any way that he's played badly. It's a great clearance, this. It's just a tough one for him to take. Oh, and that may just ice it. That's just lack of concentration.
Did something similar at the end of his last match in the frame when he'd already won, essentially, and yeah, just took his eye off the pot. Very casual. I think he knows the match is over as a contest. 11 minutes on the clock. There's no way he can get back into this, and now with that nudge, he won't come back to the table, barring something very strange from Phil Harrison. Not sure if he's got an angle where he can avoid the 8-ball or not. I think he probably just about can. If he can't, then he has to play a controlled cannon on it. I don't think that would be a problem, even if he has to play that shot. But I think he can avoid the 8-ball if he needs to, or wants to.
Got a double kiss, which wasn't too kind, but he knew whatever happened there, he'd have a shot at the top of the table. It was an insurance policy that he was quite lucky to have.
Yeah, he didn't want the double kiss, because it would have, without the double kiss, the 8-ball's in the middle of the table and he's got a shot to the top left, but with the double kiss, he's got a shot to the top right. So he just needs to make sure he leaves a good angle on his last yellow to be able to drift behind that 8-ball to make sure it's as easy as it can be.
15-second shot clock activated. You can just see there Phil checking with the referee. I don't think that is about to trip him up at this juncture right now. It's a tough one for Marc Farnsworth to take, it really is. Played really well tonight, but there isn't a man on the planet who could live with this. Phil Harrison, unstoppable. And he punches his ticket into the last 16. What a performance. What a performance from Phil Harrison. Just untouchable, Simon, in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Once he got himself 2-0 in front, he was flawless, and, you know, just relentless finishes from the break. And that, for me, this whole match came down to that clearance he took out, which I think was at 1-0, where Marc played a safety shot, turned the table over, and he would have been happy with the way he left it. But Phil's come up with the goods and come up with an incredible clearance to take that frame, and then he cleared up every time he came to the table afterwards. So brilliant stuff. One of the greats of the game, playing at his best.
Yeah, it is difficult to spot a better performance than that. You just simply can't play the game any better. Phil Harrison, an exhibition against a fellow great of the game. Stunning performance from Phil. We'll hear from him when we come back.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Well, an outstanding performance from Phil Harrison has put him through to the last 16. You can see there the draw. Operation achieved for Phil as he beats Chris Melling with a stunning 8-1 victory to take his place into the last 16. I'd like to say he joins me now. Phil, a big congratulations. That was an amazing performance. Is that the most comfortable and the most accomplished you've felt on this table in a while?
Yeah, definitely, because I haven't really done that well just lately, especially with the 20-second shot clock, because I'm a bit too slow. But yeah, I felt comfortable. You know, I was breaking better tonight. I thought I'd revert back to the break I had in the Supreme Series and some of the tour events, and I thought I'd give it a go. And I was getting them. So I was getting the breaks and one or two roll-ins and one or two a bit more tricky, but yeah, I'm overall really, really pleased. Obviously, you've got to try and keep Marc in his chair because he can do the same thing. So, but he didn't get the run tonight, and I did, really. Simple as that.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the break because it's something we saw different. In the Champions League, you went with your old break down at the table. When we saw you revert back just once tonight, when you had the unsuccessful one against Greg, went back to it. What convinced you to return to that stand-up power break?
Well, obviously I was 5-2 up against Greg, and then he kept on rolling them in against me, and I thought, no, that's no good. And I knew that to play Marc, I've got to break better. I had to break better, and luckily, I was getting balls off the break. You know, it's a big part of the game, but I'm not quite as natural as some of the other bigger breakers. But I was hitting a few well tonight, and nice to get the win.
And when you talked a little bit about the getting comfortable with the shot clock, obviously we've seen you at 25 and 20 seconds, still performing really, really well, but you never quite seemed settled. But this seemed to be your sweet spot. You look really at home out there.
Yeah, I much prefer 45 seconds.
To be fair, you looked at home at 15 towards the end as well.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember at the end of that match. I think I had the last 5 or 6 yellows, and obviously I don't hear that well. So something caught my mind. I don't know if somebody said something to me behind or what, but all of a sudden I heard the clock going beep, 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 and I thought, run. And
it's been an amazing performance from yourself. It sets you now up later on in the tournament. This is another great competition, isn't it? A chance to go deep, and that quarter of the draw with yourself, Chris and Jordan now qualified is looking like a shark tank.
Yeah. I mean, whoever gets through these little groups, you're going to be up against it in the next one, but that's why we all play, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure they are. And it's a long way away now, but nice to still be involved and go home and feel happy, and hopefully with the lockdown easing, hopefully we can start playing pool again a bit more in other tournaments and maybe get our eye in a little bit more.
Well, very well said. We'll be counting down the days to watch you again. Congratulations, Phil.
Cheers, thank you.
And next week we've got something very special for you. Well, one of the greatest to ever do it has just qualified through this tonight, and one of the greatest to ever do it in the sport of darts is with us next week as well. Next week's going to be wild, Simon. We talked about it earlier on. Phil Taylor's joining us. He's got Rob Chilton in his first round match, and on the other side, Carl Morris, a former world champion, against the young gun Gio Edgar. Anything is possible next week, it feels. Can't wait.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of attention on next week as well. Phil Taylor's going to bring that, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how Phil gets on. See what he can do. We've all watched him play, dominate other in darts, and it's great to see what he can do on a pool table. But the 3 other players that are there that night, they are fantastic players. So he's got his work cut out if he wants to, get some frames and win on the board.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely incredible if he could. Not sure how easy it's going to be though. Rob Chilton, a fearsome opponent for the power. That is next week, though. Thanks for joining us this week on Free Sports. We've absolutely loved your company. What a lineup already through to the next stage. Jordan Shepherd, Chris Melling, Phil Harrison. Oh, do join us next week for more of the same. Can't wait to see you then. For now, though, it's goodbye.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.